Alright guys, so what we're doing in this video is we're going to combine Google and that plugin that we've already installed and are using called Keywords Everywhere. And what we're going to be doing here is essentially finding keywords. So you've probably figured it out already. It's a really basic plugin, but if you click on it up here, make sure it's turned on. We're going to cover bulk upload keywords later, but we want to go into update settings, and so here's the page that'll pop up, and you want to make sure that you have the right country, and if you're so inclined, the currency. All this stuff just keep the same, it doesn't really matter at this point. But yeah, so you're going to want to either do United States or global. United States generally gives a better idea. Sometimes there will be somebody out of state genuinely looking for your service, but oftentimes they are people doing SEO or similar things where they're like searching from other countries, right? So we have our tool all set up here. So let's just jump in, right? So let's just type in home inspection Chicago, right? And what we're doing now is we're paying, and we've already done a bit of this. If you did download the plugin in an earlier video, you would have already seen this. But home inspection Chicago, that's a really good keyword. It gets 590 hits a month, right? Chicago home inspection cost, right? That gets 50 a month. I'm taking that one, definitely. And we're just going to continue clicking on things that pop up here that are hyper relevant. So 10 a month, like I would take this and just make note of it. That's not a super important one, but something worth taking note of, right? So condo inspection cost 70 a month. So it's good to note here that like that's getting 70 a month, and there's no Chicago keyword behind that. So like that's 70 a month across the entire United States. So that is a blog topic idea. But as far as finding a keyword, we haven't found one yet for condos. So let's do that, right? And we will backtrack to home inspections so that I can show you kind of how I would do it and kind of figure it all out. But I haven't actually looked into condo inspections in Chicago, so this will be a good exercise because it'll probably be much less volume and harder to kind of sniff out those keywords with this method. So I just typed in condo inspection Chicago, and we're getting 40 hits on that, so that's really good. And you just want to check here any other Chicago and condo related keywords. I don't see any. So this is where the magic happens. We scroll to the bottom here, right? And we're going to be looking for terms related to condos, right? So this is what I'm talking about. We're not seeing any that are related. We're seeing some great keywords here, like home inspectors, Chicago IL, 140. This one we already grabbed. That's a brand name. But yeah, Chicago building inspectors, 210 a month. Like those are some nice keywords there. Actually, just for the sake of it, I will grab that last one. We are going to be looking at all this information later on as well and kind of putting it together. So what we could try now is just typing in other variations of the keyword to see if we can get Google suggesting more specific things. So not seeing any here. So when that's the case, it's generally because there's just not enough search volume for Google to kind of recognize it. Okay, so there's a good one. And I just did that by just simply typing it in, right? So all I did there was instead of condo inspection Chicago, which had 40 a month, I put Chicago condo inspection, which had 50 a month. So now for condo inspections in Chicago, we have 90 searches a month right there. And what we could do then in practice is we would create a very specific page on our website about that. Or include it on the home page, depending on your city and the strategy that you're taking. So let's see if we can find some more. That gets nothing. What if we flip it around here? No, that gets nothing. We can see there. What if we just type in condo inspection? So we're basically gonna go to the bottom here. So how to inspect, checklist. Okay, so how much does a condo inspection cost? That's good to know. Probably won't get any search volume, but we can check that out in a minute. Price. So that shows right there that people are concerned about the price and the cost of a condo, which would make sense because it's so much smaller. Oh, this would actually make a great blog topic. Do you do a home inspection on a condo? Condo inspection, Chicago. Let's go back here, then let's just do cost. Oh, this is interesting. So this one here, we haven't talked about this and we're not going to go into detail about this because it's a whole nother beast, but something worth noting, the featured snippet in for this search term is a pretty good place that you would want to be, right? So these guys, which are highly optimized, they've actually got this. So this is the most real estate you could ever get in one spot on a like on the search engine results pages. Now, if we scroll down to the bottom, so we're seeing a really good blog topic here. Who pays for home inspections? That'd be a really great way to educate somebody that knows they need a home inspection in the future, but maybe they don't. They're not quite there yet. So essentially, what we're doing with this method is we're taking out all the keywords that we see that are highly relevant to our services, right? So home inspection Chicago, we already grabbed that one. Radon testing Chicago, that could be a really good local term, right? So why don't we unpack that one a little bit just to give another example of kind of how this works, and then we'll go back to home inspection keywords specifically. So radon testing Chicago, that gets 90 hits a month. It has a map section, so that's really good because you can get into here and get phone calls right out of the search engines without them even visiting your website. Now we're seeing Yelp, Home Advisor, Angie's List, the government website, Better Business Bureau, and now there is a home inspection company. So that's good. It proves that a home inspection company can rank on page 1, just like we talked about in a previous video, for this keyword. So I would definitely continue doing keyword research here. So what is radon inspection? Okay, so not a ton of results to go off of there. What happens if we type radon inspection Chicago? So we got 10 a month. That's something. For something so specific, I'll take it. And then what if we go actually radon inspection services Chicago? So that's 0 a month. But I would be sure to include the word services in there. Definitely. Testing. There's another word to use, specialists, and we are going to talk more about that later. So don't worry too much about getting all the variations there. I have a great tool that makes that really, really easy. Check this one out. Oh, here's another one. So radon testing cost, Illinois. That's not specific to Chicago, but Chicago is the biggest city in the state, so there is going to be a large percentage of people in that, of those 10 people a month that are likely going to be searching right from Chicago. This would make a really good blog topic, radon testing kit versus professional. If I were you, I would take note of that. Another really great, if radon's a thing in your state or in your city, like that is just a really good some good topics to have. Radon inspection necessary. Here's a good one, and we're not going to go into detail about near me keywords, but radon testing near me gets 140 a month, right? So we'll take note of that. It's not specific to Chicago. So now we're getting kind of broad here, like we're kind of losing the focus on Chicago, but you can see how you can use this method to find legitimate blog topics too, right? Like what is a radon test? 720 searches a month for something that's like there's proof that 10 people a month in Illinois search for that, 720 in the entire country. So by talking about these types of keywords, like you're going to be getting traffic to your website. When you're doing this too, you want to be careful not to really talk about the kit, because if somebody goes out and just buys a kit, they may not use you, right? You can do a better job than them. And you want to be talking to somebody who is not looking to do it themselves. You're looking for the kinds of people who are looking to hire a professional. All right, so let's go back and do home inspection Chicago. And let's go down this rabbit hole a little bit. Okay, so home inspection Chicago. I'm starting another column on my spreadsheet. So I got home inspection Chicago. Let's try Chicago home inspection. Okay, 320. And if we do inspector, so 320. So usually what happens when you're seeing the exact same results for very similar keywords, Google's lumped those together, and basically if you use their software. A lot of you are probably familiar with something called the Keyword Planner, and it's Google's like in-house keyword research tool for their AdWords platform. And basically, what you would see is if you type Chicago Home Inspector and Chicago Home Inspection into their Keyword Planner tool, it would basically merge those together. But it's important for us to note both because we want to make sure that we have Home Inspector and Home Inspection on our website so that we're ranking for both of those. So Chicago Home Inspection Cost, that's a good one. It's actually interesting that this one has a featured snippet instead of the maps listing. Most local terms, and usually whenever you're looking at something with Chicago or a place in it, it's a local term, right? So that's actually quite interesting and good to keep an eye on. Because there may be a time where you want to steal this snippet, right? If you really go deep into SEO, I'm confident that we could take this snippet from Angie's List. If somebody really put their mind to it. So let's continue finding keywords here, and basically what I'm doing is I'm just typing in anything I can think of at this point. Okay, so Chicago Home Inspection companies, inspector companies. I'm just trying to find all the keywords with some search volume. So we're going to scroll to the bottom here and see if this is going to give us anything. It's not giving us anything that we can really work with at this point. So once you do get once you run out of ideas, which will happen eventually, there's going to be a time where you're going to need to slightly change the strategy. Can't remember if we tried this one already. There we go. There's another good keyword. Home inspectors in Chicago. Home inspectors in Chicago area. No. Chicago home inspection cost. We got that one. Home inspections Chicago. Like we already wrote down home inspection Chicago. But you would want to make sure that you include the plural and the singular version of that word on your website once you do get to the actual optimization. Okay, so what now, right? So we have, here I'll pull my spreadsheet over here that we've been kind of building out. And we have 3, 4, 5 different keywords here, right? So what we can do is, let me pull this over to, actually we'll just do it manually because we don't have that many here. Generally I do this in Excel just because I'm familiar with Excel, and I use formulas to actually make this process go very quickly. Actually we didn't do keywords with the states on it, right? So it's important to really pay attention. And I'm doing this all just shooting from the hip right now. What I would actually be doing is I'd be looking at all the keyword research that I've had up to this point, and I'd be leveraging all that to come up with absolutely every single idea possible to really drill in, right? Okay, so this is actually funny because I was about to say the next step is to start looking at, in the SEO world, they're called LSI keywords, so latent semantic indexing keywords. And in English, they're very, very similar. They are different, but very similar to just a synonym. So let's see if we can make that happen. So we'll go back to home inspection Chicago. Let's try building inspection Chicago. So that's getting 70 a month, right? So now let's take our next keyword and Chicago home inspection, Chicago building inspection. That's 210 a month. That's great. Let's scroll to the bottom and kind of see what the suggestions are. I recommend kind of keeping a tab on these. Okay, so these are all totally useless for what we're really after here. So let's go down to our third keyword on our list that we just picked out. So Chicago home inspector, that was 320. Let's do building inspector. So 210. So that's the same as the other one, right? Where they got lumped together. Chicago building inspection cost. Let's see if that produces anything. So that's 0, right? So that's good to know. But this really shows that people use different terms for, and sometimes mean different things, right? Somebody, like when I think of somebody typing in a building inspector, I think commercial, like right away. But then we type building inspectors in Chicago and it's home inspector, home inspector, home inspector. So like we always gotta keep an open mind and pay attention to exactly what Google's actually looking to rank for those keywords, right? Because don't forget that they tailor these search results to user experience. So if people are typing in building inspectors in Chicago and people are constantly clicking on the home inspectors and not the commercial inspectors, they're going to start showing more home inspectors and vice versa. Let's get back to this. I'm going on a tangent here. Okay, so building inspectors in Chicago. So that's 10 a month. So at these like those super small numbers, they may or may not be just duplicates of each other. Probably is, to be honest. Where again, Google's just kind of merging them together. So 90 a month. That's great. So let's do City of Chicago home inspector. That's actually an obvious keyword that we did already talk about, that we didn't actually type in. And remember, you're going to want to be doing this for suburbs as well. Sometimes there are like little suburbs within a city that are just very popular, and they'll get actual searches. Now, another cool thing, and this potentially starts kind of going into dark waters here, but let's do Windy City home inspections, right? I'm pretty sure this is a company. So the Windy City home inspection, so they're doing a pretty good job. They have 70 people a month, searching for their brand, right? But you could essentially, and I don't recommend doing this unless you talk to your lawyer or a consultant, but you could essentially include Windy City because that is a valid term for Chicago. That is what it is known as, and you won't outrank them. You'll probably be under all these things, but there's a good chance that you could make it onto. Oh, this is interesting. You got a porch profile on the first page. That's really cool to see. But yeah, so you could potentially just include that in the copy of your website, and you could potentially get traffic inadvertently from people that are just typing that in, and maybe they didn't really know that there was another option, or maybe you have a way to stand out from the crowd, right? But yeah, the reason I say that's kind of on murky waters, I personally stay away from that because I don't like getting letters from lawyers. I do that in my AdWords campaigns as well. I never bid on a competitor's keywords because some of these guys and girls get offended and they will send you a cease and desist letter in the mail. So that is a decision that you should definitely bring to your lawyer so that you are definitely prepared in the event that that happens. But if you want to learn more about that specifically, it's called brand jacking. And it is actually a very valid way to get like exposure to your company, but it is its own beast. So we're going to actually wait. Let's not wrap it up yet. Let's stay on track here. Do home inspection, Chicago, and then what if we do residential inspection, Chicago? So that didn't bring any results. That didn't bring any results either. Just because there is no volume doesn't mean the odd person doesn't search for it. So definitely include the word residential. So if we do residential inspection Chicago and scroll down, okay, so yeah, there's no keywords for that one, but that's the idea. You're going to want to be swapping out the different types of keywords, right? So don't just use home inspector or just home inspection. Make sure you're using inspector, inspection, and as well as like building, interchanging with home, residential. These all are different variations of keywords that you can optimize your entire pages for, and you're no longer just getting just the home inspections. You're also getting building inspection traffic to your website. We are going to touch more on that later, so if you are a little lost, that's okay. We're going to talk more about kind of really unpacking and exploring how to capitalize on our keyword list. So just make sure you still have that keyword list, and we are going to look into that in a minute here. But I'll talk to you then.